Hello and welcome to Brutally Honest Level Review with your host, NateFH, the Geometry Dash YouTube series where I give my brutally honest review of levels with no sugarcoating. And in this week's video, we will be reviewing actually nothing. Since the deadline for the Space Gauntlet has ended recently and the results will be out soon, I thought it would be fun to talk about what I think makes a good Space Gauntlet entry as someone who has participated. Now keep in mind that these are simply my opinions, and if I use a level you like as an example for something I don't like, then don't let that harm your enjoyment of said level in any way. Oh, and next video is going to be a number level review, so remember to subscribe for more level reviews, and make sure to comment what level you want me to review, and I'll pick one out for the next episode. One of the first things I personally think about when I start a level is the overall theme of the level. An interesting theme or idea can be the catalyst for an incredible level, or one that's just okay. For me, it personally doesn't matter how good the level looks if its theme is bland or uninspired. You can have the best block designs, backgrounds, and effects, but it can only be so good if the theme is just space travel. Which in a contest where most people are going to do something like that, it can make said level hard to stand out. Levels like Final Orbit, Hyper Astralis, and Crystallize all suffer from this to some extent. All these levels try to wow you with their visuals, which consists of mostly generic space stuff like asteroids, planets, and whatnot. Final Orbit is different with a well-done animation at the start, which does set up some sort of a story, but the part of the level you actually play isn't very interesting and just looks very impressive. On the other hand, levels that have a great theme can be much better than those which don't, even if the deco doesn't look as good in a vacuum. The perfect level for this example is Hideout. While looking at the assets by themselves may not look amazing, but in context with the level's theme and song choice, it ends up being incredibly unique, which helps Hideout stand out. The simple art, designs, and vibrant colors all work perfectly with the upbeat song in contrast to the level's theme of Earth during a nuclear apocalypse and needing to flee to the moon. All this comes together to create one of the most unique entries. Aperture, while being visually impressive, has an interesting theme as well, that being cameras and astrophotography. This can be seen in parts such as the camera roll part at 33% and the use of camera parts as transitions in many parts of the level. Having this theme really helps Aperture stand out from being considered a bland entry that is just there to impress with visuals, as it adds to the level, giving the player and viewer something else to enjoy about the level. Quick, you have 5 seconds to tell me which level this is. You couldn't name it, could you? Unless you did. Then good job. Now for those who didn't get it, here's an easier one. I'm sure you got that one, right? If you didn't, then both of the levels were Beyond Creation and Space, I guess. Okay, it may not have been super fair to use a level that's been out for a while to compare to one that just released on the deadline, but my point is that Space, I guess, has a much more interesting style than Beyond Creation. As I was ranking all the Space Gauntlet entries, I noticed that a good amount of them had used one of two styles, that being a more detailed art or a flat, more cartoony art style, which made many of those blend together, and eventually after seeing the 13th level use this exact object to make a nebula, it gets pretty tiring. Oh yeah, I made a tier list of them, so here's that. While many levels that have a unique theme also have a unique style, such as Out of Place, some others do take more of a spin on some of these styles, such as Myths. Myths does go for that vector/flat art style, but it focuses more on effects and movement over detail, which gives it a distinct look from all the other levels that go for a similar style. Cosmic Crush is also another level that stands out for having an interesting theme, but also differing in the style it uses. All the backgrounds are done in KZ's art style, which reminds me of a comic book a bit. Hideout is also a good example of this, but I've talked about that level enough. Oh, one more thing it does to stand out is the song choice. Song choice is another thing that can easily enhance the level or be enough to make it stand out in some way. While also doing other things to make it unique, the song in Out of Place is a big part of what makes it special. The song is what gives Out of Place its unique vibe, in addition to the Renaissance era inspired art that can be found throughout the level, such as in the sculptures and the celestial objects that could look like they could fit in a church. It's one of those levels that's impossible to imagine working with any other song without it being super popular. And by super popular, I mean stuff like The Nightmare, which is a threshold not many levels reach at all. Other levels that stand out in part to the song choice are Planispheres, Point of View, Real World, and many others. Now, while the things I've mentioned are what really makes the level amazing, what are the things that really drag down a level? Other than deco being messy and other obvious stuff, one thing I believe that really harms the level is if it doesn't want you to play it. What I mean is that you'll much rather watch the level than play it, assuming you can play it, by overloading on visuals so much that it makes playing the level not nearly as fun. The most egregious examples of this are Starblade Disaster and Galactus. If both these levels were auto, I wouldn't have an issue with it. In fact, Galactus would make for an amazing auto, but it being ASR really harms the level, as instead of actual gameplay, in many parts you instead have to do quick time events, which isn't interesting and can be very frustrating if you insist on sight reading it. Starblade Disaster has its own issues that I could write a whole video on, so I'll just save my thoughts on that level. Overall, there are many aspects that go into what makes a level good, more than just how visually impressive it is. With realistic looking backwards and blocks, big flashy boss fights are throwing so much in your face it nearly becomes overstimulating. Other aspects like theming, style, and song may be as much if not more important in how a level looks. Oh, and anyone wondering, where's this section on gameplay? Obviously, if a level doesn't have good gameplay, then it hurts, and if it has good gameplay, then it helps. But just like Deco, gameplay can also be pretty subjective, and in classic levels as a whole, visuals are de facto more important than gameplay when it comes to getting higher ratings and placing higher in the contest.